let's hear from David McKnight, co-author of Big Coal, Australia's Dirtiest Habit.
Thanks, Jonathan. As Jonathan said, I co-authored a book called Big Coal. In fact, one of my other authors is Bob Burton, who doesn't live in Sydney, but he's present here tonight. The central purpose of that book was to highlight the power of the fossil fuel corporations. It looked at how the mining industry successfully fought Kevin Rudd's mining tax and exposed how the coal industry ruthlessly undermined the Labor and the Greens' attempt to put a price on carbon. But one lesser known aspect of the mining industry's muscle is one that fascinates me. You might call it soft power. This is the PR charm offensive, which Big Coal operates below the radar in regional Australia. The target is local communities near the old and the new coal fields, mostly in New South Wales and Queensland. These towns and cities have a strategic importance to the coal industry. Sometimes these towns are predisposed to coal mining because it gives a bit of an economic lift in some areas. Other communities are unhappy with coal mining and its effects. For example, towns which have to suffer having a massive workforce on their doorstep in labour camps and labour hostels with fly-in, fly-out workers. As well, there are farmers who are who have rung the alarm bells about the consequences of mining on groundwater, as well as damage to existing rural industries by dust and noise. So as a result, the coal mining industry has a program for winning hearts and minds, a phrase, by the way, made popular by US counterinsurgency against peasants in Vietnam. One of the main examples is in Newcastle, which is, as you know, in Australia's biggest mining area, the Hunter Valley. There, the coal company Xstrata paid for a neonatal intensive care unit in the John Hunter Hospital. This gift also featured in the mining industry's glossy advertising campaign called This Is Our Story. And this hospital funding is just the most prominent and expensive bit of public relations promotion. Most of the charm offensive involves much smaller donations in smaller towns and cities. Let me list a few projects sponsored by Big Coal. For example, and these are not terrible programs, there's a preschool learn to read program in Cessnock in the Hunter Valley, funding a chicken pen and organic garden at a Catholic college in Singleton, painting a kindergarten building in Wandoan in central Queensland, upgrading the Anzac display at the Mudgee RSL Club, and finally paying for a swimming instructor at a baby's playgroup in Nebo, central Queensland, all places where there are coal mines. There are hundreds and hundreds of such targeted programs all through the coal belt, paid by the global coal giants like BHP Billiton, Rio Tinto, Anglo American and Peabody. As one of my co-authors, Guy Pearce, said, in towns in the coal belt, the challenge is to find some sporting or social activity that is not sponsored by coal companies. It's insidious and it's cynical. And to me, it's reminiscent of the European settlers in Australia who distributed beads and trinkets to the Indigenous societies as a prelude to destroying their way of life. While the coal companies want us to think they're simply generous people, there is a calculated strategy to these donations. For example, they recognise that dirty coal is associated with unhealthy things. Dust from coal damages lung function and causes other problems. That's why there's a plethora of grants and donations to hospitals, medical clinics and healthy activities like sports. As well, the coal industry is well aware of the criticism that coal mining damages other economic activities such as tourism. So coal companies like Rio Tinto give grants to local councils to employ tourism marketing officers and similar things. God help us, they even sponsor a wine promotion while digging up vineyards in the Hunter Valley. In a similar vein, the coal corporations like to associate themselves with environmental causes. You may not know that. In central Queensland, Rio Tinto sponsored a program to help the recovery of 2 vulnerable turtle species. In the same region, Xstrata sponsored the restoration of a koala habitat. Coal companies know that environmental values appeal to large sections of the public, so they calculate their PR strategy accordingly. Check out their websites. They all acknowledge that, quote, climate change is a problem, unquote. But this is just another part of the Orwellian doublespeak, which is routine for these cynical corporations. Finally, what to do? There are many examples we could give about the power of the fossil fuel industry. It is sophisticated and aggressive, and as Bill McKibben said, it's winning. Historically, this sort of power has only been defeated in one way, and that is by governments backed by vast people power. Against these dangerous and powerful opponents, we need to find ways of building new forms of united people power. It's a continuing source of dismay to me that Australia still doesn't have a national coalition which can mobilise the massive street protests and civil disobedience actions which we need to roll back this existential threat to our way of life on this planet. This opens up a lot of questions, and I guess we'll have to leave them to question time. Thank you.